Good morning, students. In the last class, we have discussed about the surroundings of the living organisms. How many types of surroundings are there? Like cold areas, humid areas, dry areas, like that. And we have learned that everywhere living organisms are present. There is no place on this earth where living organisms are not existing. Okay. Now let us learn few more things. Habitat. The surroundings where organisms live is called a habitat. Every organism lives in some particular surroundings. Those surroundings are called habitat. And for a very particular type of organism, a particular type of habitat is needed. Why? For which all necessary things do organisms depend on their habitat? Living organisms depend on their habitat. But for which all necessary things do organisms depend on their habitat? Or what are the necessary things for which living organisms depend on their habitat? The organisms depend on their habitat for their food, water, air, shelter, and other needs. The organisms depend on their habitat for their food, water, air, shelter, and other needs. As living organisms get all of their necessary things from their habitat, the habitat can be considered as a dwelling place or home for the organisms. There are many different types of habitats. Right? There are many different types of habitats. Every habitat is shared by different types of plants and animals. All these different types of habitats are broadly divided into two types. What are those two types? Terrestrial habitats and aquatic habitats. What are terrestrial habitats? Terrestrial habitats simply can be called as land habitats. The living surroundings that are found on land. The living surroundings that are found on land are called terrestrial habitats, like forests, grasslands, deserts, coastal regions, and mountain regions, etc. All these are terrestrial habitats. Next, aquatic habitats. The living surroundings that are found in water. These are called aquatic habitats. Examples: ponds, swamps, lakes, rivers, and oceans. Swamps means marshy areas. Okay, right. Among different types of terrestrial habitats, as we discussed, mountain regions, deserts, grasslands, forests, etc., and the different types of aquatic habitats like ponds, lakes, rivers, swamps, oceans, etc., there are many differences among different types of terrestrial habitats and different types of aquatic habitats. There are many differences or variations. Variations in terms of their conditions, their climatic conditions, geographical conditions, etc. Every habitat has two components in it. They are, number one, biotic component, and number two, abiotic component. Biotic component means the living things of that particular habitat. Abiotic component means the non-living things of that particular habitat. Okay. So what are included under living things? Plants, animals, and other living creatures like bacteria and fungi, etc. All these together can be considered as living things. The living things of the habitat together are known as biotic component. And abiotic component, the non-living things. The non-living things like rocks, soil, air, water, sunlight, and heat. All these together can be considered as abiotic component. So, from one habitat to another habitat, the abiotic components do differ. Accordingly, the biotic components also are differently present in that habitat. If the organisms from one habitat are shifted to another habitat, some changes in their body and habits take place in living organisms. So, some changes in body and habits take place in living organisms when they start living in a new environment by shifting from their old or previous environment. Why these changes take place? Because we already have discussed adaptations, special features and habits that enable the organism to live in their surroundings are known as adaptations. In one particular habitat, particular type of abiotic components are present. Accordingly, their body features and habits are present in the organisms. So, those habits and body features are useful to live in that particular habitat only. When the organisms are shifted from their old habitat to a new habitat, in their new habitat, they find new types of abiotic components. Accordingly, if the adaptations in them are not changed, then they cannot live comfortably. So, in their habits and body features, some changes take place when the organisms are shifted to a new surroundings or new habitat. Right? So, why these changes enable the organisms to live in the new environment also comfortably. Right? Acclimatization. Small changes that take place in the body of a single organism over short periods to overcome small problems due to the changes in their surroundings are called acclimatization. So we discussed that small changes are going to take place in the organisms when they are shifted to new habitat. These small changes that take place in the body of organisms over short periods to overcome small problems due to changes in their surroundings are called acclimatization. Examples for acclimatization. When the people from plain areas are shifted to mountain regions. In mountain regions, the availability of oxygen it is little lesser. So, they need to breathe faster when they are shifted to mountain regions from plain regions. Need to breathe faster when we are shifted to mountain regions from plains. Right? Okay. The abiotic factors or abiotic components like air, water, light and heat, they are very important for growth of all living organisms. Without air, water, light and heat, living organisms cannot survive. The adaptations help the organisms to exist or survive in their specific surroundings. Because of this, the organisms that exist in very hot and cold surroundings are able to survive in their surroundings. So, the abiotic components are very essential for the survival of living organisms. In the surroundings, whatever the abiotic components are there, according to that abiotic components, the adaptations help the organisms to exist or to survive in their specific surroundings. Because of this only, the organisms are able to exist in very hot climate also and cold climate also. Okay. And if adaptations are not there, then the organisms cannot exist in different types of climates. So we have discussed adaptations help the organisms to survive. How are these adaptations formed? Did they form in a short period of time in the organisms? No. Adaptations do not take place in a short time. They take place over a period of thousands of years of time. Okay. Abiotic factors of a region keep changing over thousands of years. As with these changes in the abiotic factors, if organisms do not get needed changes in their features and habits, then they cannot survive in the changed surroundings. So, the animals which cannot adapt to changed abiotic factors will die. Not only animals, even the plants also, which cannot get changes in their features and habits, they cannot survive in the changed surroundings. And the animals and plants which could adapt to changed abiotic factors by having changes in their features and in their habits could only survive. The animals that could adapt to changed abiotic factors will only survive. Different regions have different abiotic factors. And for different abiotic factors, animals should have and plants also should have different adaptations. Okay, so different regions have different abiotic factors. For different abiotic factors, animals and plants should have different adaptations. See, I have written only animals because generally we don't discuss much about plants. But plants do also need adaptations in order to survive in their particular habitats. So, different regions have different abiotic factors. Accordingly, for different abiotic factors, animals and plants should have different adaptations in them. So, as animals adapt to different abiotic factors in different ways, a variety of organisms are present in different habitats. Simply to speak, in different habitats, a lot of biodiversity variations among the living organisms exist. Okay, right. And what are all those variations or differences in the animals that are found in different habitats? We will discuss in the upcoming class. Thank you.